Hey, this is Russell Moore, and this is One Thing You Missed. I am here in my hometown, Biloxi, Mississippi. Behind me is the Biloxi Lighthouse and the Gulf of Mexico, the Mississippi Sound. And here having Christmas, early Christmas with my extended family. And while I was here, I happened upon an article in the Wall Street Journal about a study that was done about generational tensions. And you think about all of the ways that generational tensions show up, even in a social media sort of age, from the OK Boomer line all the way over to the caricatures of millennials and Generation Z as avocado toast eating sorts of people who can't make their way through life. What this study showed was that there is something that they call the kids these days effect. Which is to say, every generation tends to think that the generation behind it is falling to pieces. And they figured out in this study why that is. And what they figured out was that it's because people tend to compare the next generation to whatever their particular strengths are. And I don't mean the strengths of the generation, I mean the strengths of the individual. So if you're somebody who is a reader, and you read a lot, you look at the next generation and say, kids these days, they don't read. Or if you're somebody who is really athletic, and then you look at the next generation, you say, these kids don't spend any time outside. And so you're comparing it with your strengths over against everybody else and tend to filter out your weaknesses and your points of neutrality. And I was thinking about that a lot. I was sitting there with my grandmother and hearing her talk about the other people there in the care center where she is, thinking about how much it sounds like the same sorts of things that go on in any middle school. And it's because, as she says, she still feels the way she did at 22, at 92. Generations have some cultural differences in terms of the way they're raised, in terms of the experiences they have. But people are people, and post-creation people are all made in the image of God, all bear aspects of common grace. Post-fall people, all are fallen and manifest sin. Sometimes that can show up in different ways in different generations, but they're not radically different. The thing that really stood out to me about this study is not so much about the generations as it is about human nature. That tendency to compare myself with everyone else. Sometimes what we do is, like that study showed, we compare our points of strength with everybody else, or we compare our particular point of weakness with everybody else, and you end up in a cycle of self-judgment and inferiority. Either way is not right. And the church actually ought to be the place that teaches us how to understand this. One body, many members, many different gifts working together. Never going to have an absence of generational conflict, never going to take place, but we can lead the way and do better, which means we need the elderly, we need the young, we don't need the caricatures, we need each other. This is Russell Moore here at the Biloxi Lighthouse, and this is One Thing I Miss.